The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome to Court Radio. I'm Dean Weitzman and this is your hour to ask legal questions. If you've been sitting on something all week, couldn't get through to the office, you need an answer today. Now's the time to pick up the phone and give us a call at 215-227-2727. That's all you got to do. And I will do my best to answer your legal question. I can't say never, but I can count on one hand in all the years I've been doing this where I was stumped on a Sunday morning. So 215-227-2727 gets you into the studio. Get those lines ringing. I see they're coming in now. And we'll get to your questions shortly. Let's talk about some things in the news, like the EpiPen scandal. The EpiPen scandal, where the company who makes a life-saving drug for little children who have allergies, for everybody who has allergies, but it's really, it's something that moms and dads stock up on for kids who have allergies from everything from milk and peanuts to bees. And this drug will allow them to recover from what could be a life-threatening allergic reaction. And the pen, maybe about a dozen years ago, cost about $100 in today's money. It was less than 100, but I mean, the value was about $100 in today's money. And today, they're trying to hawk this pen for $600. May I add that the CEO took a $12 or $14 million bonus on the backs of families across America who really can't afford this any longer. I mean, moms and dads are being asked to pay upwards of $1,200 for two pens, and they only are good for one injection. So your kid has two reactions, you got to buy another two pens. It's crazy what the drug industry charges. And this isn't some really highly technical drug that, you know, they spent $8 billion to develop. This drug, the drug inside the pen, is a common drug that has been around forever and maybe costs $1 to manufacture. $1. And then, of course, the cost of the pen itself. $600 has no relation whatsoever to the reality of the cost to the company. It's a windfall. It would be like going out and having gas companies charge $37 for a gallon of gas. And people are upset, and they should be. And, you know, I mean, I'm not one to pass laws. You know me. I want to evaporate one law each week so that we can be less burdened by Congress. But in this instance, to protect people, I think it would be a great idea if Congress came up with a law that capped how much these thieving pharmaceutical companies could charge. So we'll see what happens. 215-227-2727. Let's see what else is going on. There's some story that Prince had counterfeit pills that contained a very, very powerful drug, fentanyl. Maybe he didn't know that. You know, getting back to medications, if you're a drug addict, probably buying drugs on the street, there's always a chance that you're going to get something that is not what you think you're getting. And obviously, there's serious consequences from that. Ryan Lochte, charged with lying to the Brazilian authorities. Did you think that kid, you know, when he came back drunk from his night out of debauchery, did you think that he thought he was going to end up so embarrassed and embarrassed the entire country, so to speak, and with his behavior. Well, I mean, what he did, probably every college kid has the capacity to do. Not that big a deal, but on that grand stage, when everybody's looking at Brazil and mocking them for their high crime and their inefficiency, they were just waiting for an opportunity to say, ha, it's not really us, it's you crazy Americans, and Ryan gave him that opportunity. He lost all of his endorsements. He did pick up a new one, though, for cough drops. I'm not sure what their thinking was, but okay. I mean, look, it's a mistake. It was a very stupid mistake, but I'm always believing on giving people another chance. And so the Pine brothers gave Ryan Lochte another chance. So there you go. Suck on that. 215-227-2727. We are live. And in the studio, it is August 28th, the last Sunday in August, and it's a hot one to be. So sit back and enjoy the show. We have our hot button topic today, folks. If ever you were thinking, you're sitting home, you're thinking, my back's hurting me, I really need somebody to adjust me, I need a chiropractor, but I insist on going to a chiropractor who has the same name twice. There's only one man in America, Benjamin Benjamini. Good morning and welcome to Court Radio.
Hey, good morning, Dean.
You want to get a little closer?
I will.
I think this one's better for you. No. Oh, okay. Sorry. The man has spoken. So, how is it that you have the same name twice?
As I mentioned in the past, it was a
mistake?
It wasn't a mistake. It was something that they thought would be easy.
Easy. Obviously, they didn't think you were too bright, so they didn't want to make your life too difficult. So when you went to school, I needed to learn two names. You just needed to learn one. Actually, that's ingenious.
It was easier for the teachers, for the
other kids.
Yeah.
The next time I have a kid, and I'm not putting that past myself.
That wouldn't be a surprise.
I'm taking a page from your book, okay?
It's all yours.
There you go. I'm going to call him Weitzman.
Weitzamini, you got it.
Like a little Weitzman, a Weitzamini.
A junior,
yeah. A junior Weitzman. All right, really, in all seriousness, you're proudly wearing your alumni shirt from Cleveland University. How did you get into chiropractic? How did you decide this is my calling in life?
Well, I wanted to help people, and I felt that the not conventional medical approach would be also an interesting path. And chiropractics offer that ability to heal and treat people, not using your pharmaceutical agents, using the body to orchestrate its healing power.
How long does it take for somebody to go down this path and get a degree?
Well, I'll take you back 20 years or so. Back then, you needed your pre-med requirements, which the quickest you could make it is about 2 years. And then chiropractic school was about 4 years. And I say about because the program I attended was 3.5, and there were other programs that were 4 years. It was school throughout the year. There were no real breaks.
Did you have to do a practicum at some point? Did you have to actually get your hands dirty?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Not as dirty as other professions, of course. But in the school program, there was a clinic in which you were seeing patients the last year and a half.
Okay.
So, yeah, you had your practical hands-on part in the program, and you also had an externship program to attend. And so you got your hands dirty in a way.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now you attended school, even though it was called the Cleveland University, being Benjamin Benjamini, you attended the Cleveland University in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. They had two branches, one in Kansas. Cleveland is basically named after the founding family of the school.
Oh, not the city.
Had nothing to do with the city or...
I see. I see.
Family.
Okay. You come north to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And make roots here.
Definitely, the weather brought me. I enjoy the winter and the fall. Beautiful foliage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And let me, you have, how many offices does your organization have?
We got 3 locations.
Where are they?
There is the Center City one. It's called Center City Medical Center, so most appropriate fitting would be to be in town. And then we have opened up our Northeast branch, which is in the lower part of the Northeast.
In my old neighborhood, actually, right around Unruh and Bustleton, the Oxford Circle area.
Exactly. And we also have a Einstein, Broad and Olney branch, which is North Philly.
And do you personally go to all 3?
Yeah.
Put some miles on your car.
I have a spitting image of myself, and we share time.
There you go.
We rotate. We have several providers in the practice, and we share the office. Yeah.
Okay.
Share time.
Folks, I got to tell you that I send a fair amount of patients who need chiropractic care to Dr. Benjamini, and really, without exception, these folks love the care they receive at his office. How do they get in touch with you if people aren't represented by Dean Weitzman, but they're represented by Harvey Eni?
Well, yeah, I got that. Well, some people use the phone system to call us.
And what phone number do you have?
215-735-8052.
Okay.
Other people can email us through our website and get an appointment. It's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Folks, if you need chiropractic care, Ben Benjamini is really a fabulous place to go. Center City Medical, their Northeast branch, or their Olney branch, or Einstein Hospital. I've used them all, and they all get great ratings. We're going to talk about some things about chiropractic care and how you help people with traumas, but we got so many people on the phone, we're going to take some calls first.
Let's go for it.
All right. Let's talk to Teresa from Media, PA, on line 5. Eric. Hi, Teresa. Welcome to Court Radio.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your question today?
My question is actually about car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
My sister has traveled out of the country and left her car with me. And my son, who is 21, who has a driver's license, wants to drive it. And I talked to my sister. My sister said it's up to me. So if he was to drive that vehicle and get in an accident, how does that all work? Because obviously he's not registered as the driver of that vehicle.
Right. Well, when people temporarily use somebody else's vehicle that is insured with the permission of the owner, then the insurance company covers any losses associated with operating the vehicle. So long as he has a valid driver's license and the permission of the owner, there should be no problem. There is some exceptions to that. For instance, if your sister lived with your son and she went out and purchased insurance, and they asked her the question, hey, is there anybody else in your household who has a driver's license and may drive this car? If she said no, and then he drives the car, the insurance company could disclaim for a material misrepresentation in the application. But any other person who does not live with her has the right to drive the car. Could you imagine what life would be like if every time we allowed somebody to use our car, they were uninsured for that moment that they used it? It would be chaos. So, no, as long as, like I said, he and she aren't living together and she didn't lie to the insurance company, and she's away and her car's there and she's given him permission to use it, then it will be covered. No concerns.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, Teresa, thanks for calling Court Radio.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yep. See, that's what Court Radio is all about, folks. You have a nagging question, what are you going to do? Go to a lawyer's office and, pay a retainer to sit down and ask the question? You know what lawyers are like. Huh. But here, Court Radio, Sunday mornings, you just give us a call and you get your answer. All right, let's talk to Chris from Winfield. Hey, that's kind of your neighborhood. Chris?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
All right, great. And yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How's Winfield today?
Oh, Winfield's nice and mild. For the past couple of days, we've been experiencing an increase in warmth, but it's fine. It's fine. It's better than we've been having.
Yeah, I think the fall's coming though. You know, autumn's just around the corner.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, listen, lower your radio and let's get to your question, bud.
Oh, okay. I try. But it's fine. I'm talking on my cell phone. Can you hear me still?
Yep, I hear you fine.
Oh, all right. I have a question about tenancy in the state of California, Los Angeles. A nephew of mine is staying in property that was owned by my uncle. He lived there for quite some years. Since he's been married, he's been married to my aunt. I think somewhere 27 and 32 years. And he recently passed away. He was my blood uncle, and his wife wasn't. She married into the family. But long story short, my nephew's staying there. He's been out there for the past 2 years. My uncle passed away in May 5th of this year. He's been staying, and now the house is in foreclosure. This has been a family home for quite some time, as I told you, and the bank is threatening to foreclose, and I'm trying to find out one of three questions. Where does it leave him? Can the bank sell right beneath him? And what is the law as far as California goes? And does the bank assume landlord-tenant status in this situation?
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you my best shot at this. One, California law is California law, and you're talking to a guy who practices law on the East Coast, and states' laws are different across the country. And I am not an expert on 50 different jurisdictions, but only in Pennsylvania, somewhat in New Jersey, Delaware, the areas here where we encounter folks who have problems that we deal with. So I'm not sure. But as a general matter, okay, the bank does not assume a landlord-tenant role. They are a mortgagor, and you the mortgagee. And therefore, when you are in default of the mortgage, you did not pay them the way you promised under the note, then they can foreclose on that property. They follow the foreclosure rules, not a landlord-tenant rule. Okay. Lastly, I think you asked me if I don't know what was your third question.
Okay, it was. Does the bank assume the landlord-tenant status? That's no.
No, that's no. But I think something about I don't remember now. Sorry.
Okay, where does it leave my nephew?
Pay up or get out. That's essentially where it leaves your nephew. Pay up or get out. And by the way, merely because your uncle died, that doesn't forget his estate now. Okay, that's the legal entity that replaces your living uncle. His estate has an obligation to honor the debts of the decedent, and when the estate doesn't honor those debts, the bank can step in and foreclose the property.
Okay, the property being foreclosed, I was wondering, is there something that can be done to get because the mortgage went into foreclosure by no fault of his own. He was staying there as a caretaker for my aunt and uncle, and the power of attorney was getting to the son of the wife.
Well, hold on. Powers of attorney die when the decedent dies, so they're no longer valid. His will becomes valid if he had one, but not a power of attorney. You can't operate under a power of attorney after somebody passes. That is when they are alive. They give you a power of attorney. You can act on their behalf while they're alive. As soon as they die, the power of attorney dies with them. And then it must be the will that takes over for whatever responsibilities or rights you have vis-a-vis the estate. In this instance, the power of attorney is meaningless. But again, whether it's his fault or not, let's not talk about fault. He has, if there's a legal obligation to pay that bank needs to get paid. And if they don't get paid, they're going to take the property in lieu of foreclosure. And there still may be a debt to the estate after that if they don't get enough money for the property. All right?
Right.
All right.
Right. Okay.
All right, Chris, take care. Thanks for calling us from Winfield with that Los Angeles question. Love you.
All right. Take care.
215-227-2727. You got questions, we've got answers. That's usually what happens. There you go. I got Dr. Benjamin Benjamini in the studio. He's the owner and proprietor and chiropractor to the stars for Center City Medical. Center City Medical. Let me ask you a question, if you could answer this. What is sometimes I send clients to doctors who are medical doctors who have physical therapists who are employed by them and work for them. Is there a difference between the services performed by a physical therapist and those performed by a chiropractor?
As far as the services are concerned, the services somewhat overlap. Physical therapists are not trained in a similar fashion as chiropractors do. Physical therapists are trained to provide the therapy exclusively, whereas chiropractors are trained to diagnose, provide an examination which would allow them to identify the problem. Once the problem is identified, then they could treat it. So as far as the treatment is concerned, there is an overlap in the treatment between what physical therapists do and what chiropractors do. As far as how they are operating, the chiropractor does an examination, whereas a physical therapist will do the exam where it's just a brief exam for the purpose of treating. In other words, the medical doctor or the osteopath will provide them with a referral for physical therapy, and the physical therapist will provide the therapy, period. Whereas for the chiropractors, anybody walking into the door is a fair game. You have to examine, identify, rule out what is indeed something that you could help with, and if not, it is the chiropractor's obligation to refer it out to whoever could help. In other words, a patient can come in and complain of a back problem, where in fact there is no musculoskeletal complaint, it's actually a kidney problem, and that patient has to have been referred to a urologist to take care of their kidney or other specialties. So the physical therapist doesn't have the capacity of diagnosing or referring out the patient to specialties, whereas the chiropractor is
that's a good point. What are some of the specialists that a typical trauma patient will be referred out for from you?
So in my practice of 20 years, I have routinely utilized the orthopedists. They're trained to deal with joint problems, and it could be a hand, it could be a knee, it could be an ankle, it could be the spine most commonly. So orthopods are a common referral or an associated specialty that we rely upon. Neurologists we end up utilizing as well. Physiatrists, these are a specialty in medicine that deals with physical medicine, the body, the mechanics of it. Who else do we use? And pain specialists, pain managements.
Okay.
Those are the common referrals that we make.
What about for diagnostic studies? Do you rely upon diagnostic studies? What are diagnostic studies? What typically would you refer for?
Yeah, diagnostic studies, again, are tools that we utilize to identify the diagnosis, the problem. We commonly need imaging studies, and that could be an X-ray, it could be an ultrasound, it could be an MRI. Many times we need nerve studies, so we use nerve conduction evaluations and EMGs. Sometimes we even utilize pain management injections as a diagnostic tool to see whether the problem is the discs or the nerves. So diagnostic studies are a key element in treating and diagnosing the problem.
Wow. Do you do the injections at your office?
We have been doing that. We have specialists that come in.
So once a
provide that.
patient comes to you, they don't necessarily have to schlep to other places.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. We have a multidisciplinary approach. We have an orthopod that sees our patients in the office. And again, it's not exclusively that orthopedist. I do utilize other orthopods based on the particular needs. We have a physiatrist that comes in, and they at times utilize the injections and other diagnostic tools that they have.
Folks, if you have a legal question today, Court Radio is here for you. All you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. That's it. 215-227-2727. That's the number for Court Radio. It's also the number for My Philly Lawyer. You can use it all week long. We're in the studio today live with Dr. Benjamin Benjamini, Center City Medical, and he's been answering questions about what happens when you're involved in a trauma. Let me ask you, how is it that a car accident or a slip and fall accident can cause the injuries that you see?
Very simply, when the body goes through motions, rapid motions, deceleration, acceleration, or when you fall, the impact goes through your body. The spine has shock absorbers, which is the discs. The disc is exposed to this form of trauma and can tear. And as a result of the tearing, you will endure the pain that's associated with it. So when they walk into our office, we don't know exactly what it is. That's why you have to do a thorough examination and identify A, the mechanism, and B, the actual problem, the condition.
And typically, give us a rundown of the injuries that you would experience, that you have experienced with your patients.
Right. So I've seen a lot of back complaints, a lot of neck, lower back. We do also treat patients with hand injuries, knees, pelvis misalignments of some kind, and these are injuries that commonly follow some form of trauma. As you said, it could be a fall, it could be a sport-related injury, and it could be also a car accident which jars the body in a rapid, in a traumatically fashion, and results in spinal pain.
Now, when these discs endure too much stress, they can tear.
Exactly. The tearing of the discs results in some form of herniation or protrusion or even bulging. And there are these segments that the purpose of the disc, as I mentioned before, is a shock absorber. And so when you are damaging that function, you will lose the ability to move. You'll have restrictions, and you'll have pain. And that's exactly when they show up.
Traveling pain, radicular pain. Tell us what that is and how that's caused by this collapsing of the disc.
So again, you mentioned two different things: traveling pain and radicular pain. Traveling pain is pain that's being referred from one point to another point. So commonly you have traveling pain from the lower back to the legs, or from your neck to your hands, traveling pain. That could be as a result of a muscle swelling, a trigger point, whereas radicular pain, the true nature of radicular pain is some form of irritation to the nerves, which are the electrical conducting system of our brain, which goes through the spine and into our hands and into our legs. So radicular pain will be an irritation to the nerve, and it will be experienced as pain going through your hands to your fingertips and to your toes and to your calves. Whereas referred pain, you'll have similar pain pattern, but it's not a true radiculopathy. It's something that should be resolved with reduction of inflammation and restoration of function.
All right. So if you've got a problem in your hands or your feet and you've been involved in a trauma, that doesn't mean you've injured your hands or your feet. It's probably something that's starting in your neck or your back and moving to those other parts of your body.
And that is exactly what I explained. And coming to a chiropractor or into any medical practice, we are able to evaluate the cause and also the onset of the problem or where it is located so that we could treat it. Yes.
Folks, we got to take a quick break for our sponsors. Dr. Benjamini's one of them, but we've got other sponsors who need to hear you call them. So listen carefully, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, and this is Court Radio. It is Sunday, August the 28th, the last Sunday of 2016 in August. We're moving on to the fall, folks. September's right around the corner. Labor Day, and then the leaves will start changing colors. First snowfall, Christmas, and on it goes. There you go. Let's talk to Tony from Fallcroft on line 2. Tony, welcome to Court Radio.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm okay. All right. I'm a laborer out of Local 332, and I work for one of the major concrete companies here in the city. Back in 2015, I got injured on the job. They took me out to Hahnemann Hospital and put me on workman's comp. I got a couple torn discs, bulging discs, deteriorated discs. I got injured. They put me on workman's comp, sent me to therapy, and I was on workman's comp for about 8 weeks. And after the 8 weeks, I went back to work, and that same day they laid me off. I contacted an attorney, and he told me to let them lay me off. And the reason why they laid me off was because of pre-existing conditions, so they said. Never been injured a day in my life prior to that. So they put me on unemployment, and my unemployment ran, and they finally exhausted. So I went back to work for another company. And since that time, I have heard from the attorney, and we appeared in court to try to recoup some type of pain and suffering or whatever the case may be. However, since that point, I've never heard from the attorney, and my back is still damaged, but I managed to still work, do a lot of stretching, and my back seizes up from time to time with the muscles and what have you. And I'm, from time to time, I'm in excruciating pain. However, I have a family, mortgage, and the whole 9 yards, so I still go to work. The question is, will there ever be any recoup? And should I have went back to work? And will I ever get any type of settlement from that?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of questions there, and I'm going to do
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm going to do my best to kind of tease through them and answer them for you.
I've been trying to contact you for a long time, man.
First of all, workers' compensation never, ever, ever, ever pays you for your pain and suffering. Forget those terms. Pain and suffering is a term used for a third-party case. So when Joe Blow injures you, and Joe Blow's not your coworker, and he's not your boss, and it didn't happen during your job, it can happen during your job, but he's a third party, unrelated to your employer or coworkers. In that instance, you can sue Joe Blow for if he negligently harmed you for all your pain and suffering now and forever. Workers' comp pays you only when you're not able. And that doesn't mean you can do it in pain. It means you can't do it at all. You cannot do your job. When you cannot do your job, workers' comp will pay you two things. One, they'll pay for your medical expenses related to treatment for that injury. And two, they'll replace your wages, period. If you're able to work, even in pain, and you can do your job as well as you did it, then you don't get workers' comp. And therefore, if you're harming yourself more and more and more as you work to try to muscle up and earn the money for the family, then, and you're really not able to do your job without harming yourself further and further, I would say in that instance, no, you shouldn't work. Okay, and you're doing yourself a disservice, and you should be out on comp. And it could be comp for a particular injury, or it could be comp because you had a lifetime of wear and tear on your body at that job. Both of them are compensable, and maybe you need to start all over again and forget about trying to resurrect this old claim. Maybe. I say you have to sit down with an attorney face to face in their office, and you need to ask these questions and figure out a proper plan. And you also need to get together with somebody like Dr. Benjamini, who can diagnose your problem and figure out if you're able to do your job, because a doctor helps a patient in that regard. Am I right?
Correct. Absolutely.
So Dr. Benjamini knows what your body is going through, and he knows what stresses your particular job will place on your body, and he's going to recommend, no, you can't work with these injuries, or yes, you can work. So I think you need that decision, whether to work or not to work, is a decision that is arrived at between you and your medical care team. It's not a legal decision. It's a medical decision. If the medical decision is that you're not able to work, then you stop working. All right, Tony? And then you make your comp claim, and you make it with somebody who you have more confidence in than the guy who obviously has let you down in your mind at this point.
Well, I appreciate that. But what I'm saying is that, this guy, this attorney, at that point was like, yeah, let him lay you off. So my unemployment ran out, and then at that point I had no funds whatsoever.
I understand, but as soon as you went back to work, then for all intents and purposes, the comp claim comes to an end because you're working.
Right.
So you can't work and claim that you need compensation because you're unable to work because you're working. So
right. I got what you're saying.
All right. We got to run. I want to thank you for calling, and I want to invite you to call the office. Okay, the same number you called Court Radio if you want to sit down and meet with a comp attorney, because Jeff Gross and I share clients, and he's a wonderful workers' comp attorney. He'll give you his cell phone. He'll never be unavailable to you, and we'll be happy to sit down with you and figure out whether there's a claim here that should be acted upon.
Okay, I appreciate your call answers, man. Thank you so much.
Tony, take care and be well.
Okay, you too.
215-227-2727. People are injured. I mean, this is not a joke. People really have injuries which are messing up their lives.
Completely, yeah.
And, they're relying upon you. So you see a patient who maybe never had an injury before. This is their first time. They're a little crazy right now because they're anxious, they're scared, they don't know what the future holds. What do you do when they walk into your office? And
they're in pain as well, so they're not at the best shape. Again, you evaluate and you come up with a treatment plan. For example, this guy, they pushed him back to work. You have to analyze what was he doing before and whether he's capable of doing it forward. And if it's something that would harm him or re-injure it or make it worse, deteriorate his condition, you have to advise him not to do it. Because you don't want somebody to live with pain for the rest of their life. They become miserable and not really tolerable. So
and not productive employees, and not safe employees for other workers who may be relying upon them to do their job right.
Yeah, you're looking at the grand scheme of things in the employment world. Yeah, you want somebody who's capable of doing what they are supposed to do, and if this person was not, he shouldn't have returned to at least that type of capacity.
and it's not unusual. What poor Tony experienced was he muscles up, tries to get back to work. The employer realizes, hey, we got damaged goods on our hands. Let's get rid of him.
And they did that.
It's horrible, and it's why I do what I do, because I don't like when innocent people are taken advantage of by the system, gamed by the system, or their deep pocket employer. Tony gave his life for this occupation, for his employment, and what did they do? As soon as he broke down, they kicked him out.
And it was so sad to hear. He said that they kicked him out for degenerative conditions. Yeah, we all have degenerative conditions. We're all working. We're not in pain. But sometimes something happens and it flares up the symptoms or makes it worse. And that's where you need proper treatment.
And when those degenerative conditions are caused by a repetitive task at your employer's behest, it becomes a workers' comp claim, folks. If you're, for instance, the classic example, you're a butcher, and every day you're whacking away at meat, and you develop carpal tunnel syndrome in your wrists, or you develop a shoulder injury, and your shoulder is torn up, but not from one instance, but from a lifetime of hacking away at cattle. Okay? In that circumstance, you have a valid workers' comp claim. You don't need to identify a specific event which caused the injury. It's a culmination of events occurring over your work life. And when your body breaks down, your employer needs to pay you, and you need to get taken care of and get proper medical care.
Correct.
215-227-2727. Let's talk to Clavel from South Philly. Yo, Clavel, raise your window. Oh,
yes, good morning. I wanted to ask a question about divorce proceedings.
Go for it, Clavel.
I paid a lawyer since December to finalize my divorce, which had been which started in 1998, and I haven't heard back anything from the lawyer. I was wondering what could I do other than to call the lawyer and incur charges.
Well, unfortunately, that's what you do have to do. When you are a client of a lawyer's who the lawyer's charging you by the hour, every moment that lawyer spends on your file potentially is a charge. But you need to also, at times, interact. You got to balance that. You don't want to call every 5 minutes. It'll cost you a fortune, and you really won't get any new information. But here it's December, and it's now August. It's 8 months. Maybe now is the time to give that lawyer a call and to say, hey, what's going on? Where are we? When will it be concluded? What needs to be done at this point to conclude it? You know, I think those are valid questions, and you should spend a few moments talking to your lawyer and getting those answers. I think 8 months is a long time, okay? It certainly, many divorces take much longer, and whatever happened between 98 and December when you hired this lawyer, I'm not counting that at all. But just from the time you had the lawyer, from December till now, you know, it's not impossible that there's still things that need to be done, but it's certainly at this point appropriate for you to get a status on your claim.
I agree.
All right, so give him a call, or her, him or her, and you know, if you still have questions after you talk to your lawyer, by all means, give us a call back. But I think you need to get an update on where you stand on this divorce. Since 98, let me ask you something. What took you from 98 until December to get a lawyer?
Well, we did have a lawyer back in 98, but because of this divorce proceedings started by my ex, he was always saying we're going to get a court date, but never got a court date. So 18 years later, I thought I'd finalize it myself and get it to be done with it. But somehow, I don't know why it's taking so long to even get an answer or court date to be finalized.
Well, I can't answer that because I don't know the circumstances, and the lawyer that you hired should and does, and you need to speak to them this week. And then, again, if you have further questions after that, by all means, give me a call.
I sure will. Thank you very much for your help.
Take care, Clavel, and have a great Sunday.
You too. Thank you.
All right, folks, 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Mike on line 2, Eric, from North Philly. Michael.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. And you?
Doing better. So I just have a question. I was rear-ended while at work, and it caused me to have a couple vertebrae replaced in my neck. So I had 3 vertebrae replaced in my neck. But since the surgery, which I went back to work, full duty back to work in June, but it was revealed that one of the screws broke in my neck. And I want to know, should I be worried about the other 2 screws, and, what are my options?
Yeah. Well, the answer probably is yes, because what comes to my mind is there a defect in the hardware used? Maybe. Or maybe there was just a lot of stress on that particular screw and it won't happen again. But it's certainly a fair question. It's a question, though, that should be posed to your surgeon. And I think you need to sit down and have a consultation with the original surgeon. Have you gone back to see that surgeon since you found out your screw had broken?
Well, he showed it to me. He told me he was obligated to show it to me on my last X-ray before he sent me back full duty. But I have another appointment with him in December.
Right. I guess the question, again, this is not really legal. This is more medical. And it's medical beyond, I won't say beyond, but it's just not what Dr. Benjamini specializes in chiropractic care, and this is more of a surgical issue. But again, I think the important question that needs to be answered by you is, are you becoming symptomatic? Is your neck stable, and are you pain-free, and are you able to do all your duties and obligations without any limitations? Or are you having symptoms from your neck, like those ridiculous symptoms, numbness, tingling down your arms, into your hands? Mm-hmm. Are you having problems like that again? And if you are, then I think it needs to be readdressed by the surgeon.
Okay.
All right, Michael, listen, I wish you the best. Tell us how the rear-end car accident and workers' comp claim ended for you, if it ended.
Well, it rear-ended. It ended okay, but it took them over a year before, they okayed the surgery. Because I had the swelling and everything in the spinal column, and the vertebrae was just bad.
How much? Let me ask you a question. How much did did you bring a claim against the driver who rear-ended you?
Yes.
And how much?
Limited policy. He had a $50,000 policy.
Okay.
So
it's important. I bring that up because it's important for people to understand that insurance plays such a big role in what we're able to do for our clients. In this instance, Michael sustained really a life-changing injury. 3 vertebrae, screws in his neck. He will always have a problem associated with this accident. And in my opinion, an appropriate settlement would be something maybe in the high 6 or low 7 figures. Okay, maybe $1 million would be what I would want, or more, if that happened to a client of mine. And you got $50,000, and it's ridiculous, but you're limited to what the insurance coverage is of the tortfeasor or defendant or wrongdoer. And in this case, Michael's wrongdoer had only a $50,000 policy. Let me ask you, were you in your car or a work car?
A work car.
A work car. Did your employer have underinsured motorist coverage?
No, not at all. I did. I had underinsured motorist coverage for me personally.
Okay, and how much coverage did you have, Michael?
$450,000.
Okay, God bless you, because you had way more coverage than I see on my average client. Okay, and I'm going to presume that you got that $450,000.
Well, it's still going through. I just got back to work in June, so they're still going through the motions. I have an issue with this broken screw in my neck because the job I do, they have days where nothing happens, but then they have days where you may have to get physical. So I think you know what I do for a living now.
Right.
But, and I'm just worried that if I do have to get physical, what kind of situation would that leave me in if something was to happen?
Absolutely. That's a valid point. And, people in security and law enforcement who on any given day must exert a lot of force with their body always needs to be concerned about what happens when they have a weakness. And I got to say that, thank you for helping keep us safe. But you got to look out for yourself as well, Michael.
Absolutely, sir.
All right.
Absolutely.
Good luck with
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your underinsured motorist claim, and get back to see the surgeon.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you, sir.
Take care. 215-227-2727. Folks, we got to take one more break, but we'll be back for a series of questions with Dr. Benjamini in 2 minutes.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, and this is still Court Radio. That's right, the place you come every Sunday morning to get your legal questions answered. All you got to do is give us a call, 215-227-2727. The number, the one and only number you need for all of your legal needs. That's it. And I finish with an exclamation point of an explosion. Okay? There you go. Let's talk to Erica from Winfield. Winwood, Winfield. We got winds in the air. Hello, Erica. Welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to keep my question short.
God bless you.
I just want to know, my mom had a medical issue, was sent to the hospital, died a year later. So this happened in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the statute of limitations on medical malpractice claims?
Okay. Medical malpractice claims, the statute of limitations from the point of negligence when you knew or should have known there was negligence is 2 years. Sometimes when you know or should know there is negligence may not happen right away. And I'll give you an example of one where I had a client who came in. She had surgery 8 years ago. They left something in her body, like a scalpel or something. 7 years, and she lived with it fine. But 7 years later, developed an infection and almost died. She had no idea the scalpel was in there. When she figured out that the scalpel was in there, it is at that point she discovered the negligence, and then she had 2 years from that point. But ordinarily, if you know things were going wrong, then to be safe, you go from the earliest point when you knew something was going wrong, and you give yourself 2 years, and that's the statute in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Thank
you, Erica. Take care, and thanks for being succinct.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I like succinctness when we have a few minutes left. All right, let's talk to Curtis from Manayunk. Oh, Curtis, line 5. Sorry, Eric. No line 5. Curtis is gone. All right, Curtis, good luck with that settlement question. Get back to us real soon. Let's talk for a minute about something that we haven't talked about yet. This is what I want to talk about. You wear many hats, okay? The most prominent hat is you're the doctor. You care for your patients. But those patients are often involved in litigation. And that's, not every case settles. Getting back to Curtis's question, he's not here, but I'll tell you that he wanted to know how long it would take for a case to settle, and the answer is, hey, who says it's going to settle? Some disputes are not settleable. Sometimes I want more money than the defendant believes my client's entitled to, or the defendant doesn't believe their client was at fault, and it gets litigated, and we end up in court. And we have somebody else, a third party, whether it's a jury or a judge, make that decision. And so the question is, are you called upon to get involved in that process?
At times, we are called upon to testify on behalf of our patients. And when we do get called, it's, again, strictly to the medical literature that we have produced and discovered pertaining to this patient. So, yeah, it happens. It happens.
Depositions.
Yeah.
Testimony in court. Are you effective in communicating? You got to judge by how what other attorneys have told you. Are you effective in communicating on behalf of your clients?
We are effective, yes. We again, based on the communication I've had with the attorneys that have deposed us, we have been very effective, yeah.
See, folks, I just want to say one thing and then we're going, okay? And that is, sometimes clients want to go to like their family doctor. And the doctor may not be knowledgeable about these types of traumatic injuries and may be unwilling to testify because they don't want to leave their practice. You need to find a doctor who deals with these traumas on a daily basis and who will support you in your recovery and in your litigation. That's what Dr. Benjamini does. That's what Center City Medical does. If you need him, call him. What's the number?
215-735-8052.
Folks, have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday, same time.